politicians, you want to think they're smart, but they do a lot of really dumb shit.
I just think that so many of them live in like an insular, like just an insular lifestyle that like they think the bubble that they live in is the whole world all the time.
Yeah.
And because like they, do have some modicum of power, that like, sure, that works, but that's not real life. It's just so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I cannot stand watching any like actual legislation happening.
No.
Just like all the, thank you, Mr. Speaker, just all of the decorum. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do you know you're getting to like a third of the topics because you have to do this?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's set up that way so people can't just yell over it. I'm sure there were reasons, but it's just like, this is bad. Like, there has to be a better way to do this.
Or just watching Joe Biden try to appear like hip, like he's with it, like he gets the kids. I'm like, bro.
Well, it's like, don't worry about that.
No one's buying this.
Yeah, it's like
oh my
you don't
God.
have. Yeah, you don't. I think that's. I mean, I think that he has a way to connect with people that he does well, and it's so easy to see through when he hadn't been necessarily coached, but it's like these sorts of things will maybe resonate with younger voters. It's like, nah, dude, it's the stuff.
Yeah, correct.
It's not the way.
No, but it's like, I was listening to Joe Rogan. They were talking about the other day. It's like, they were saying it's like your grandpa. Sometimes they'll say something that's totally racist. They mean well, but it's totally fucking racist.
Yeah.
But they're so old. They just don't like, that's the world they,
okay.
Like Joe Biden has these oftentimes where he'll say something that's like, you can't say that now. You can tell he's trying to mean well from it, but you're like, you can't say that. That's not cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, and even he has the benefit of being like a public figure for a long time. So he has more experience and is typically a little further ahead in terms of like how he speaks. But even then, he's like still like old, so like you can't totally turn that off.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like we think like anytime your grandparents are now like our parents, like are telling a story. And it's like, you didn't really have to mention that person's skin color. You didn't have to. That wasn't part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Grandma, Mexicans aren't that bad. Since I grew up in Arizona.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I visited my grandparents the last time before my grandfather had passed, they live right on, I mean, it's like in like Sunbird, whatever. So it's like in Chandler. And their like retirement community backs up to the reservation. Like across the street is the reservation. And he was kind of talking, it's like, see how they keep that broken down car in their front yard? We gave them that land. I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, this is not the conversation we want to be having in this car. And he was just like saying they should be taken care of. I'm like, dude, this is not, I see kind of what you feel, I guess. This is not the conversation we want to be having. Yeah, it's just kind of part of being old, I guess. Don't talk to anybody ever when you get a certain age. Is that what it is?
I guess so. Well, that's why he's done less press conferences and interviews than like the past 5 presidents or something like that. Like significantly less, because they're kind of just like, let's just keep him over here so he doesn't say stuff that he probably shouldn't.
Well, and not to I think what's important for like him specifically is, I don't know that his gift has ever been oration in the first place. It's not like you go back, even seeing like old clips of him like in the 90s or whatever. It's like, man, he really had it back then. Like the things that you're good at, like, and I like that they're like, yeah, maybe just do the stuff you're still pretty good at, and like let's not do the things you're getting worse at as you age.
It's just it's
but that's wild. But I think that goes into the same thing. It's like that lifestyle is so insular and insulated that like they can kind of just like put you in the positions that are like you're good at, and like you make you feel like, oh, the world is this because that's all I experience in this thing.
Like they're not even having debates because they're just like, no. There's nobody else. It's just him. It's like, but there are others. there are very competent others, like one belonging to the most famous political family in the United States right now. And then another one blown up on TikTok somehow.
Marianne?
Yeah. But it's like, no. We're not having debate.
So that part's kind of weird. I mean,
He's sitting president.
They rarely primary a sitting president in that way anyway. But
correct.
You're right. It's just like, now we're just not going to do it.
Yeah. When majority of voters are saying we don't want this guy, we would prefer somebody else. Like, we're not even going to run that. We're not even going to run that.
It's sort of just like, let's just kick the tires on it. Let's just see.
It's kind of what they're doing.
Let's just see.
It's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Anyway, super fun.
Anyway.
This is Dirt Talk, everybody.
Dirt Talk podcast.
I'm Alex Horton. I'm here sometimes. That's Aaron Witt. He's here every time.
Most of the time. Every time.
That's every Harrison. Time. He is here every time.
He's here every time. He was joking yesterday. It wasn't a joke though. He's never missed an episode since he came around.
I would disagree with that, Harrison.
I've missed an episode.
Oh, has he?
Yeah. I have run the ones and twos maybe 2 or 3 times.
I probably mixed them though.
You did. You have had your hand on every single episode since you walked in the door. Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah. Right.
Well, so we're here, which means I've got some cues and you've got some questionable answers.
Yes. There was a YouTube comment today. We posted a video on the channel of a Wheeler machinery technician, my friend Keldon.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And I really enjoyed it. We didn't do anything all that significant. It wasn't like dramatic wrenching on equipment work, but it was diagnosing a problem, which I think is equally as interesting because you have to figure out what's going on with the machine before you can even fix it. And we had a flight to catch, so we couldn't get like the whole day, which was a bummer, but we proved the concept. We'll do it again. I'm excited to do it again. But somebody commented today, he's like, wow, I didn't think Aaron had that little knowledge of tools. I'm like, yeah, I'm an idiot. Of course, I don't have any. I was raised by a tax lawyer. We had like a hammer in a closet. That was the extent of our tools. So yes, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what a ratcheting wrench is.
Also, I think to be a little bit fair, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes when you're doing that stuff, you might ask questions you know the answer to. Or partially know the answer to?
Sometimes. Yeah. Or because I try with what we do to include the knowledgeable audience, but bring people along at the same time. And so people will be like, yeah, duh, I knew that. It's like,
well, that's always been the challenge.
Good for you. Send me your address. I will send you your award in the mail so you can put it on your refrigerator. Yeah, with your little gold star. You know everything. Good. Great. Congratulations. But what we're trying to do is create some positive awareness for the industry from outside the industry and attract people to the industry. And that requires us educating people that don't know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm. That's just how it is, man. But it's like you're trying to balance. You don't want to be everything for everyone, but you also don't want to make content for one single person either. It's like it needs to have like, at least semi-broad appeal. Yeah. Because you're like, make it's not just for you. Or maybe it is just for you. Maybe that's the trick. You're like, I wanted to see this, and so I'm going to go make a vlog.
Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I just go to places I find interesting. That's it.
More and more. I mean, I feel like early on it was maybe, you had, not that you wouldn't want to go, but it's, oh yeah, we're going to shoot photos for this company. But like multiple years now, it's been, I heard this thing's really cool. I want to go see it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to Australia next week. Chile the following month. Just seeing a bunch of my friends.
All over.
Technically.
I was looking at your calendar today.
Yeah. And then going to go back and see Zeppelin in Europe again. Go back to the Middle East again. It's just sick.
Yeah. Really cool stuff.
It's a stacked year.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my jacket off because I should have known better.
We filmed a little bit for Build It Training in the podcast studio last week. We had 5 or 6 people in here. It got really hot with 5 or 6 people.
I don't know what we can do.
I mean, it was just like, I was also kind of like flustered a little bit. I'm like, am I sweating because I'm wanting to get this right? Or am I sweating because I have no possible choice? It's 85 degrees in here. Anywho, Aaron's changed. We are ready to do some dirt talking. So, once a month, we're doing these Q&As. We've been doing them for a while. Super fun. Thanks everybody thanks everybody for sending in good questions, or maybe not very good questions. Mm-hmm. But, it's not up to me to judge that.
There's the saying, there's no bad questions, there's bad questions.
But there are some bad questions.
There's stupid questions.
But to be fair, to qualify, these answers will be questionable answers. So
that's true.
They're not going to be that great
There are
either.
bad answers too.
Yeah. And we're going to explore that with bad answers. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. We'll see how many we get to. But Aaron, are you ready to jump right in?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question number 1. What and why is there a typically... let me read this again. What and why is there typically a disconnect between designers and builders? What is the disconnect and why is there a disconnect between designers and builders?
I went to school for engineering, so I got to glimpse into the world of design.
Mhm.
I never worked in design though, but I went to school for design, and a lot of the people I went to school with now currently work in design. While I was in school, I worked in construction in the field.
Yeah.
So I got to see a little bit of both. And I think a lot of the problems stems with the fact that both parties don't really understand the other,
Mm-hmm.
because the construction people say the engineers don't understand anything, but it's like, okay, but you wouldn't have a job without plans, and you're going to go make the plans? Like, I don't think so.
Like you're going to be worse at it because you don't have that skill set either.
Well, they wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't know how engineers make plans because it is so complicated. It's so complex. The math is crazy. Yeah. It's wild what they have to do. And they're also working off incomplete information. And then it goes the other way. It's like, well, you just need to build it like the design. It's the contractor's like, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And not everything works on a 2-dimensional plane.
Mhm.
This is the world. This is the real world. There's stuff in the way. There's constraints. There's stuff that we couldn't have foreseen. So I think the disconnect is mostly a lack of understanding and appreciation both sides.
Sure.
And I think it's most successful when the contractor tries to meet the engineer halfway and the engineer tries to meet the contractor halfway.
Yeah.
And engineers that I think spend time with contractors, I've seen it done well. I've seen it done not well. When it's not done well, the engineer comes out, they know they're right. And they're right.
Because mathematically they're right.
Well, yeah, and they look like a fish out of water. They're sticking out on the job site. They look like an engineer. And they don't have to look like they should be on a construction project per se, but they're a lot more effective when instead of coming to defend their work, they're coming to understand what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
And they might have some work boots on and some jeans on, and they might look like, even though they have a bright shiny vest on, they're trying to be part of where the heck they are and trying to understand and try to ask questions so that they can come to the best solution for everybody. It's not, I told you so, or you're right, I'm wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. It's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the contractor, it goes both ways. The contractor needs to understand there's so many more complexities to building something that they don't see typically, that they don't see even on the plans that were behind those plans in the first place. It's really complicated. Really complicated.
When you're an engineer doing that kind of work, do you ever see the site typically when you're doing the design?
It depends. It really depends. Sometimes, but a lot of times, no.
It's more just like, stats about the location.
Yeah, or they'll do a lot like using Google Earth, but a lot of times they'll do site walks.
Okay.
Or they'll just reference as-builts, but typically your as-builts aren't always accurate. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Or they don't. It's like, this was recorded, but we had this other utility bank over here that no one has any record of, and it's right in the alignment of where you wanted that storm drain, which is gravity. So what are you going to do?
Now you got to do something else.
Now we got to redesign it all.
Yeah.
The successful contractors I see, they approach it more of like a teamwork mentality. And the successful engineers I see approach it from that same mentality. We're all here to accomplish the same thing.
Like, I need you, you need me. for us to kind of do a full, version of this job.
We're all a team. We're all trying to build this job.
Mhm.
So how do we build it most effectively so that everybody wins?
Yeah.
Like, I think you can't really lose with that mentality no matter what side of the fence you're on.
I've got actually. Well, this is great. I've got a second question that I think connects here really well. As a civil engineer, this is from a civil engineer. I'm not a civil engineer. Let's set that straight. So, quote, as a civil engineer, what's the best way to connect with and get respect from guys in the field?
One, look the part. It's so simple, but I remember Jason Gardner with Echelon Front. He talked about this when I went up with them. He said, they were Navy SEALs, but they were working through the U.S. Army. And so he could, when he was going to see the U.S. Army commanding officer go into his office, he didn't need to be dressed up. He could be wearing whatever he wore out in the field. And he's a Navy SEAL. He's like, he could have done that, but instead he wore a clean Army uniform to just kind of show his respect, kind of level the playing field a little bit and say, hey, I'm coming on to your turf. So I am going to defer to you on this. And that sets up a whole new level of potential collaboration that you don't have otherwise. So I think step one, and this is what I try to do as somebody that goes and photographs job sites, I try to just look the part and I always act like I'm a guest because I am always a guest. It's not about me ever. So if you're somebody like me, you're an inspector, you're an engineer, it's not about you. That's not your job site. You're not the one out there every day. And so if you go at it with that sense of humility, and then 2, go at it with a sense of genuine curiosity, typically you can get people to respond pretty positively. And also just remember, I'm somebody that, like all these big, tough dudes, it's pretty intimidating. But just remember, they're all human beings. And I forget that all the time too, even to this day. But you start to talk to them a little bit and hey, how you doing? My name's Aaron. What's your name? And so what are you guys doing here today? And just, can you just explain to me what's going on? And just ask an earnest, genuine question. Can you just explain it? And they're proud of what they do.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, maybe even 10 out of 10 times, they're probably going to explain it. They might be short with you, but they'll explain some of it. And you can just start conversating about the work right in front of you, about if it's Monday, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I was with the kids. How old are your kids? And you just start trying to connect with them. And then once you connect with them, you can go do whatever you need to do from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
But that's Fire Engineer, or that's the exact same playbook I use as a photographer.
I guess it's not that far away from, as an engineer walking onto the job site, like you're still kind of removed from it in that same way. That's not what you're doing.
And I position it as like, I'm here to make you look good. I'm here to just make sure that your job's going okay. Like, how can I make your job go better? How can I make this easier for you? What are you struggling with? What did we miss? What did we not think through? And maybe not say that because I know everybody's terrified about liability, but I would go at it from that perspective.
It's funny. Our company has now gotten, thousands and thousands of reps walking onto job sites that are not ours.
Yeah.
And kind of running with that playbook. We've been welcome on a lot of job sites.
It's an art though. I'm 5 years into it and in my 6th year, and I still don't even have it close to figure.
Connect with somebody and they're like not buying it. You're like, okay.
No, it's not that. It's not that at all. I've never, some guy asked me how you get people the other day how do I get people to allow me to take their picture? And I say, I just ask. And I don't think I've ever been turned down. I don't know if everybody's been super stoked about it but I try to make it a good experience. I know it's for them, not me. I know they're going to want that picture one day for sure. I'm going to show them the picture afterwards so they understand what I'm trying to accomplish. But you have this fear in your head that's not exactly, it doesn't exactly match up with reality.
Yeah. Thanks for answering. That was a double question. Got to pull 2 into 1. Thank you. Here's another one. This speaks to something you have spent some hours on over the last couple of years. How should I convince my construction company leaders to start using Instagram?
I wish I knew.
Ain't that it?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I tried to do this when I was in the office at a construction company one time, and I tried to lay it all out, and I don't know. Like, I don't even know what I would do. I guess if I were in this position now, I was a young person at a construction company, I understood social media. I would maybe try to find somebody in the office that gets it and start talking to them and feeling it out and seeing what I could do to help and express my interest and curiosity in what the heck's going on. Construction companies are afraid of social media. They're afraid. And they're afraid because there's the potential for liability, which doesn't really exist, but there is a potential for liability. There's a potential for their people to get stolen if they show who they are. There is a potential for their top secret methodology to be out in the open. And I'm saying this kind of in jest, but it is real fear, and I understand the real fear. They're afraid just because it's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable.
You have to show what you're doing.
Yeah, you're showing how the sausage is made, and that's scary. And so if you understand those fears, but then work to explain to them how this would benefit them from a retention and recruitment standpoint, which is really where the money's at, you might have a decent chance at talking them into it.
Well, when I see this question, I'm thinking about the many times we've gotten questions about how can I start posting on social media? How can I start building that brand online? And this is really like a full step behind or before that happens. Is like, how do you convince someone who's hesitant or anxious or maybe just like afraid of what it could mean if they start showing their business on the internet? How do you convince somebody who's out on that to see the benefits? I mean, that's a hard conversation.
And
if they're already out,
when I was working in the industry, they didn't let me. All companies that I worked for had no social media policies.
Yeah.
I posted at every company. Like, what are you going to do? Am I going to get in trouble? Okay, then I'm in trouble. And then what? Like, I wasn't being an asshole. I was being very careful about what I was sharing. I didn't want to get the company in trouble. Are you kidding me?
You weren't like tagging the company. Or
No,
I guess they probably
I didn't want them to see it.
Yeah.
But I was also being responsible in what I was sharing. But I shared photos from every single company I worked for. And all of them were not cool with social media. And so I want to be respectful of the old guard and the industry as it stands. But it's just getting to a point where it's so clear that the world is headed in this direction. The most successful contractors I see right now, they are working with it. They're not pushing against it right now.
Yeah, and that's not just social media. That's technology more broadly.
Yeah, but social media, I mean, you look at what a Hoopah is doing, or Plateau recently, they hired someone to lead up their marketing efforts. And she's just done an amazing job. There's a bunch of companies out there that are doing so spectacularly at showing off their companies and who they are. And if I were on the market, I would be looking to those companies to say, that's where I want to work. Like, there's monster companies. I'm very well connected in the industry. There's monster companies I learn about almost every single day that I've never heard of. And it's not because they don't do hundreds of millions of dollars of work. I have all this equipment. It's just like they have no internet presence. And that's kind of the world I live upon.
And unfortunately, you kind of don't exist in a lot of ways other than your markets.
It's crazy. Yeah.
If you don't, if you're not on the internet.
Yeah.
I think it's an exciting and cool thing for me to have seen over the last couple of years is when I see companies we've worked with or we're currently working with or whatever, when they hire people who they used to pay us to do things for.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, they saw so much value that it's like, we, want to invest in somebody who's part of our team to help us like continue, whether it's just tell the story or show off the company or whatever it is. But it's like they at some point said, it's important for us to be really serious about this and kind of stop, walking on eggshells in the social media space. It's like, we want to take that seriously. And then like those companies start seeing like the benefits, and whether we're not working with anymore, but there's plenty that are, like we still do work with, but they, have started a podcast or hired a full-time content creator, whatever it is. It's cool to see that like they're seeing the value of that and they want to take even more control of that within their own company to tell their story on the internet, which like you've been banging the drum since the beginning. Like that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put it out there that way.
And there's more companies doing it today than ever before.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see.
It's just the first step towards making the dirt world a better place.
It's one of the steps, yeah. I don't know if it's the first, but
a step.
It's definitely part of the journey.
Part of the journey. Love it. All right, next question. Oh, here's a good one. This is juicy. Is a job in the dirt world worth pursuing if I'm looking for a career that will eventually pay me $100,000 per year?
It depends on your market, but you can go make over $100,000 in just about every single market in the United States in the industry. I mean, you can make well over $100,000 as a technician, as an operator in a lot of markets, as a foreman in a lot of markets, as a superintendent for sure in just about every market.
Yeah.
A technician, you can make over $100,000 in just about every market. Truck drivers are only becoming more and more valuable and higher paid. It really, again, it depends on the market. Like a Florida truck driver is making a totally different rate than a Cincinnati truck driver.
Sure.
But it is adjusted by cost of living too. Yeah. If I look at money from you have to kind of check the box. The dirt world can absolutely check that box for you.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you want to play your cards. But there's so many different pathways to, if over $100,000 is where you want to get, so many different pathways to doing that.
Well, and you think of, plenty of the people who are, their company is just themselves, like make it way more than that because like that's the path that works for them.
Oh, totally.
And that's how they want to do it.
Yeah. You can make well over $100,000 working for somebody else or yourself. There's so many different ways to do it. Out of school, this was 2017. I was making $65,000 a year.
Project engineer?
As a field engineer.
Field engineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if that's where you're starting, like, if you're bringing that value, like companies typically tend to pay at some point, the more value you bring, the more money you probably make.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you get on with a good company with, like, even if you have, you make 60, 70, but if you get on with a employee owned company or a company with profit sharing or a company with a solid bonus structure, you can make a lot of money. It's really, really cool how much money you can make. It's not everything, but yeah, this industry can definitely check the box.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to put it when talking about money. Like, it is a box to be checked as far as your work and your career. Obviously, if it's like, I will work anywhere if I can make this amount of money, if it's because that amount of money means something to you and not just like, does it check the box? I know that there are, I remember I read, it was a handful of years now, but it was saying how like the tech industry, a lot of the approach to paying and approach to salaries was you make it so they're making enough money that they stop thinking about, are they making enough money without like, blowing salaries out of the water. So they never have to think about money again. But it's like, how do you get from, I'm still thinking, I need to make $5,000 more a year in order to X, Y, and Z. And so I think to your point, when you're talking about, that like in construction, you can certainly check that box. There's obviously plenty of money in the industry.
Yeah. And depending on how important money is to you at wherever you're at in your life, if you want, like a lot of times you can go, a young person in your 20s with no family, you can go work in like the oil field, for example, running a dozer, doing dirt work. You can still do dirt work or really remote mining, or there's a bunch of stuff, pipelines, where you can make a killing. You're going to work crazy hours, but you'll be taking $250,000 a year home at 23 years old.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. Go out to West Texas, go out to Midland, go out to Odessa, go out to Pecos. The trucks out there are insane. You go like outside of Pecos at at a gas station when oil's up, everybody's driving a baller F450 Platinum or whatever it is with a welder on
Gotta
the
have
back.
that King Ranch, man.
The trucks are sick. And then it's like a 22-year-old kid getting out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the way you want to roll, stack it up, work like that for a few years, then now you got a lot of options. Ideally, don't go blow it and adjust your cost of living. And then now you're stuck with those golden handcuffs on. You're kind of fucked from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of ramp it up gradually. You can go work crazy hours and make killer amounts of money. You can go to a different region like a New York City where rates are way higher than they are in the South, for example, and join the union. There are so many different ways to slice it.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of opportunities in the dirt world. Like, that's a big part of what we're doing.
What's Harrison? Do you have a calculator? Does somebody have a calculator?
I got one right here.
Do 40 times 20.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
800.
800, and then 30 times 10 would be 300.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1100.
Yep.
Times that by 52. 1100 times 52.
$57,000.
So it's $57,000 if you're working 50 hours a week at $20 an hour, which is just about the lowest I've seen in the United States.
So, like, in theory, you know, you could make $57,000 a year jumping right in with no experience.
In theory. In just about every market. There's some markets that are probably $18, like most of the South.
But the cost of living and wherever that is also pretty low.
But most everywhere is about $20 an hour, if not more right now. And so, yeah, you can already make a good living.
Yeah.
Starting as a laborer.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks for the question. Next question. If/when autonomous trucks and backhoes come into play, will they be taking over our jobs?
Autonomous trucks have already been around for 20 years.
Ever heard of it?
Yeah, they it's been a technology that's been rolled out, and maybe not 20, but in well before 2010, it started to become really big, like the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's been rolled out primarily. They started in a place like I think it was South America, at least Komatsu did, when it's really in the high desert, in like a copper mine application. Mm-hmm. You have really nice haul roads. You have very little weather, and it's consistent. They need consistency.
They're not having to fix the road every day because of the rain.
Yeah, well, it's on rock, so it's just it's solid.
Yeah.
So you got consistent driving conditions. They started down there, and then I think they went into Western Australia. It's big in Western Australia now. And then they went into more weird conditions like the oil sands that get crazy, but it still works pretty well now that the technology's there.
Yeah.
The reality that the mining industry is facing is that, hey, we have a large percentage of our workforce retiring, but the demand for mining is only set to substantially increase over the next few decades, especially with the whole green energy thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we really are serious about the green energy thing, it's going to dramatically change mining. If it's physically possible. There's still questions about that. So they need to keep ramping up production while their workforce is dwindling. And so what they're doing is they're looking at options to shore up some of that by automating as much as they can, which makes sense. So it's not that they're trying to remove jobs to eliminate humans from the business, because there's still so many humans that are required for an autonomous mine. They're just trying to eliminate some of their risk with the workforce problem that's happening right now. I've been to one autonomous mine. I'm going to see more autonomous trucks in Australia, and then I'll see more autonomous trucks in South America.
Nice.
In 2 months. There are so many people required to support that mine, especially the one I saw in Alberta. I mean, all the shovel operators, they're still working. There's still manned trucks out there. There's manned dozers at all of the fill areas, waste areas. There's blades everywhere. There's all of the support staff to maintain the trucks in the first place. There's so much infrastructure required to even service a remote mine.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, I think remote machines are going to help with very repetitive tasks, like Built Robotics just unveiled their machine that's a pile driving rig for solar fields at ConExpo. That's a pretty mind-numbing task to just pound piles in a very consistent grid pattern all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's so mind-numbing. So what autonomy does is it removes some of the grind of the tasks that are repeated often on a job site or mine site, and allows that human capital to focus on what human capital is most valuable, is where they're most valuable, which is the creative problem solving, high stress, high traffic, things in the way.
Yeah.
That kind of application. So I think all autonomy is just another tool in the earth moving tool belt, much like GPS, like a rover. It's just another tool to help the industry operate more efficiently, but it's never been about replacing people. That's not the goal of it.
Yeah, you're not going to roll up to a job site and it's only autonomous equipment. It's like, well, we got to lay off the whole job for us, and then this just runs by itself.
And mine operators need people so badly, even if they went to an autonomous fleet, they're placing those people elsewhere because they need those people so badly, because there's a huge gap. So it's not, you're not cutting back on people. You're just trying to fill that gap somehow. And honestly, the automated equipment is way better. It's far more productive.
It doesn't need a break.
Doesn't need a break. Far less wear on the machine because it's always consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Far less tire wear. Far less fuel burn. Better haul roads because you have a more consistent driving pattern. Like everything across the board is far more efficient. And when the company's more efficient, in theory, if it's a good company, it's more profitable, which means it has more to invest in its people and to invest elsewhere within the business, which benefits everybody as a whole.
Yep.
So it is eliminating an entry-level position, and that's something that the mine operators need to figure out, and that's solved by training more effectively in a lot of ways. But after seeing more of it than just about anybody, unless somebody's in like an autonomous program, it's not going to come to your job site anytime soon. And from what I've seen, it's a pretty spectacular technology. And if you're a talented operator, you have nothing to worry about. So if you want to protect yourself from being automated, I would get really good at what you do.
Get better.
Yeah. I would just focus on being as valuable as you possibly can, because that is the best job security you can enjoy, no matter what organization you're in, no matter what position you're in. You just ask yourself, how can I be more valuable to this organization? How can I make this company more money? You're going to be good to go.
Yeah.
And if you're not good to go there, you're still screwed. You're very, very valuable in the marketplace. Someone will pick you up, and then you have the same mentality. I'm going to go make them as much money as you can. And it'll come back to you one of these days. It really will.
Well said. Yeah, I think the autonomous trucks conversation is really interesting to me, because it really just, what it sounds like from your perspective is it might shift some people around, but it doesn't just like eliminate the need for people.
It shifts people around, and it also creates totally new roles.
True. They in theory, that infrastructure might require more people than just,
in some way,
old equipment out there.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. 2 more questions. What do we got time wise? We'll do one more.
I mean, it's just like it's scary because there's not a human, but it's like when we moved from, steam shovels and cables to hydraulics. It's like, wow,
when we went from hand shovels.
Yeah, or everything's being pulled by mules.
Yeah.
And then you go get this truck that's diesel power, steam power. You're like, wow, this is crazy, and it can do way more work.
John Henry can beat the steam.
And it's
the
more
steam
efficient. And it's like, yeah, the people that are maintaining the status quo, like that is a threat. But at the same time, that's progress. And the industry needs to progress if we're going to remain competitive and remain in existence long term to support society long term.
It was a bad day for mule breeders when diesel came around.
It was, yes.
Oh, man. All right, we'll do one more question. One of these you answer a lot, so let's skip that. What is the best work truck, in your opinion? What do you see out there? What are most people using as a work truck? By choice, anyway.
I don't care about this debate. I think they're all good. Chevy's good. Ram's good. Ford's good. What's another one? The
Toyota.
GMC's good. Toyota's good.
Them Tundra's looking pretty nice these days.
They're all good.
Yeah.
It's whatever you like. They're all good trucks nowadays. And everybody's like, oh, this is a pile of shit. It's like, okay. I don't think any truck's a pile of shit. I really don't. They're
mostly
all pretty
luxury
sound.
vehicles now.
Yeah, they're pretty damn sound. They're, some trucks have been cursed by the whole emissions thing, which I think is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
I drive a Ford because I just like Ford's best. I've driven them all, and I like Ford best. But can I justify my decision making? No, I can't. I just like it better, and I don't need to justify it. I just like it better. Oh, you should get a Ram. You know what?
Maybe
you go buy a Ram. I'm gonna buy a Ford.
Because that's what you like.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. I don't care about your opinion. I like my F-250 Lariat. I think that's a perfect truck.
It's a great truck. When you're out in the field, is there a particular make that seems going to be the most common?
Ford's probably the go-to. I mean, it's been the best-selling vehicle in America for 4 decades. So statistically, there's more of those than anything else. Yeah. Yeah, mathematically, you'll see more. But I don't know. They're all good.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 2 Fords here at BuildWit. There you go. All right. I think that is it for questions and questionable answers. Thank you to everyone for sending out questions. If you have more questions, always send them along to dirttalk@buildwit.com.
Yes, send in your questions. And also, if you are somebody that wants to grow as a human being, we're putting on this thing called the Dirt World Summit in October in Houston.
That's Texas.
Yes, it's around $2,700, so it is pricier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, the lineup is insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah. We had to charge that price point to put on such a high, the kind of the quality of conference we wanted to put on to help the dirt world grow, help people in the dirt world grow.
Yeah.
Not just professionally, but as human beings. So if you're someone looking to grow, I'm telling you, in this industry, there will not be a better event this year from a you growing as a human standpoint. So if you want to make an investment, if you're a business owner, you want to make an investment in yourself, in some of your people. If you're someone in the industry that's, you know what, I do want to improve as somebody at this company I work for, as a spouse, as a parent, as a friend, as a leader in my community, whatever it is, this is for you. So if you're serious about it, dirtworld.com. We'll see you there. October, I'll be there. About 1,000 other people from the Dirt World will be there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a spectacular time. We're not messing around. Please go to the website, dirtworld.com, if you're interested.
Well, and we're seeing a lot of companies send like their entire leadership team, which is pretty neat to see that like they're, putting their money where their mouth is. It's like we want this team of leaders to grow so that they can kind of bring that to the rest of the team.
Leadership, but anybody.
Yeah.
You could be a young foreman. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing as a leader. Yeah. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the club, man. I'm right there with you. I've spent a lot of money over the past few years. That's been the best money I've spent within this business are some of the leadership development things I've done. Some of them with Jocko, who will be at the Dirt World Summit. So there you go.
Going to be cool.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. It's going to be really exciting. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always send them to dirttalk@buildwit.com. For Harrison on the drums, as always, Aaron Witt, thank you very much for having me on the Dirt Talk podcast, my friend.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Stay dirty.